With 44 KOs and 50 total wins in 56 matches, Mike Tyson is one of the most formidable boxers the heavyweight division has ever seen. He took great pride in not only knocking out his opponents, but doing so in the most dominant fashion possible. Here are 10 of the most humiliating moments from the career of the baddest man on the planet. Number 10. The knockout versus Marvis Frazier. At the start of his career, Tyson went on a fighting roll with 24 fights in his first 18 months, and all but 2 of them being knockout wins. With his squeaky clean record and his vicious fighting style, the fame and fortune came as quick as his infamous first-round knockouts, and none of those knockouts came quicker than the one against Marvis Frazier. July 26, 1986, the two fighters clashed in the Glens Falls Civic Center in New York City. The bell rang, and immediately it was clear that Tyson was in no mood to stay in the ring for too long. 30 seconds in, Tyson delivered a series of jabs and an uppercut to Marvin's head.
Uppercut, and Marvis is hurt.
And just like that, the fight was over. 30 seconds. Imagine someone buying a ticket only to see a fight last 30 seconds. Yeah. After the fight, Frazier only fought 3 more times, and then ended up becoming a minister at the Prison Fellowship Ministry. Talk about putting the fear of God in someone. Number 9. The demolition of Trent Singleton. In only the second fight of his professional career, Mike Tyson destroyed Trent Singleton to the point where Trent never fought again. In only 52 seconds of time, Singleton was knocked down 3 times.
Singleton in the blue with a gold trim. We're in round 1. Well, we didn't get much of it already from what little we've seen of Mike Tyson in his pro career. Downward motion machine so far. This isn't going to go too long. Trent Singleton.
And while he was never a winning fighter, this sort of barrage would be embarrassing for anyone to go through. To top it all off, on the 3rd knockdown, Tyson tried to jump scare the guy by stepping in as Trent was trying his best to get up. It was almost as if he was bullying him. As Tyson himself would say, no comp. He swept the floor with Singleton, but at the very least, Singleton went back home in one piece. That can't be said about all of his competitors, though. Number 8. Giving Michael Johnson a new look. In only his 8th fight, Iron Mike had to go through Michael Johnson, and boy did Tyson run straight through him. The fight took place on September of 1985 and was one of the shortest bouts Tyson has ever had. 23 seconds in, a left hook to the body by Tyson sent Johnson on the ground, but he got back up. Not for long, though, as his inability to defend himself gave Tyson all the room in the world for a brutal cross to the face that so powerfully struck, it hurts to even watch it. Any ordinary guy and a punch this strong would have broken their neck. After all, it did break Johnson's jaw and his 2 front teeth, quite literally disfiguring him. Jeez, no wonder they had trouble finding sparring partners for this guy. But I guess not everyone's smart enough to understand that. Number 7. Stomping over Reggie Gross. Reggie Gross was one of those fighters whose record doesn't tell the full story about them. While his 18-4 record at the time didn't show it, he was good enough to get the best of some great fighters like Burt Cooper and Jimmy Clark. He had a way of rising to the occasion, and he thought he could do the same with Iron Mike. Mike Tyson is like a bull. He comes right at you. "I eat bulls for dinner," he said, confidently, a while before the fight. When the fight began, it actually seemed that way too, for a while at least, as Gross seemed to have jumped onto Tyson, throwing a barrage of 18 punches at one point. In response to that barrage, Mike threw one gigantic left counter. And that was more than enough to finish the fight. Gross was out. Imagine throwing in a barrage of punches towards an esteemed opponent, and in the end, all you get in return is one punch, and that's enough to take you out. Brutality at its finest. Number 6. Back to business. In 2003, after taking a loss to Lennox Lewis in the previous year, Tyson returned to the ring, this time against the fighter who was crowned 2000's the most exciting fighter to watch by the Ring magazine, Clifford Etienne. At that time, Tyson was being coached by the legendary Freddie Roach, who thought that Tyson was not in fighting condition before the bout, and thus wanted to call it off. 2 days later, the fight was called off, but Tyson's team did not hear from him, and he apparently made it to Memphis to fight. Then Etienne didn't want to fight because some of the people from his corner had left Memphis, but he came around too, and so the fight took place on time. And in the fight, Mike answered all the questions anyone had about him. The fight didn't even last a minute, as Mike's right hook hit Etienne right across the face so hard, the dude fell, took his mouthguard out, and just admitted defeat then and there. Number 5. Fighting for Ali versus Larry Holmes. Larry Holmes is one of the most formidable heavyweights of all time, and is the only boxer ever to have made the legendary Muhammad Ali retire from a fight. At the time of the fight with Tyson, Larry was 38 years old, the same age Ali was when he was beaten by Holmes. At the start of Tyson versus Holmes, Ali was brought to the ring and honored as one of the boxing's greatest, and before leaving the ring, he went to Tyson and he said, "Get him for me." That was enough. Tyson delivered one of his best performances on that stage, getting around what was arguably the best jab in boxing history like it was child's play. The only reason the fight even went to the 4th round was because of Holmes' grappling, which he used to make sure Tyson couldn't hit for too long. But it wasn't enough to stop the Kid Dynamite, who knocked the wind out of Holmes with a left jab in the 4th round.
Huge right hand. That should be it.
And made sure he'd fulfill his promise to Ali. Number 4. Sunning Tyrell Biggs. Tyrell Biggs was one of the very few fighters who dared to diss Mike Tyson. It's in his name, Ty-Son, said the fighter while he was asked about Mike. It's also said that he took a shot at Mike when Mike came to wish Team USA good luck for the Olympics, saying this, "I don't know about him, but he certainly ain't getting on that plane," referring to Mike Tyson not being selected among the American boxing Olympic team. The fight was set thus on October 16, 1987, with both fighters undefeated at the time, and it was certain that one of these two would have their careers altered forever. Biggs always said that Tyson's strength wouldn't be a problem to handle for him, since he relies on tiring his opponents out and using mobility. At one point, even talking to Tyson in the middle of the fight. Tyson made sure to give Tyrell his due payment in punches, and he made sure to tire Biggs out in the first 2 rounds, pinning his strategy against him. Once the 3rd round started, it was all Iron Mike, as it was obvious that Biggs was trying to avoid any contact with those punches in whatever way he could. Biggs was scared for his life in that ring, and it made sense why.
Back a long way, all the way back to amateur days. Another left hand, and there's a...
He got beat up so bad, even the announcers were unsure if he'd be able to recognize himself next morning. Tyson ended the fight at the end of round 7 with a signature left hook, and then proceeded to say that Biggs was making womanly gestures and crying every time Tyson would hit him in the body, as if the beating wasn't enough. Number 3. So long, Donnie Long. Donnie Long, quite like Tyrell Biggs, was a big talker who couldn't really put the money where his mouth was against Tyson, and for that, Tyson took special care to make him look stupid. Before the fight, Long said he could outbox Tyson and keep him in the middle of the ring, that he could punch as good, if not better than Tyson. Well, Tyson made sure to wake Long up from those dreams because 37 seconds into the fight, he gave a left jab that quite literally knocked the wind out of Long's shoes.
Long is 27. Oh, wow. Well,
And while he did manage to get up, it was a very rude awakening. Just moments later, Tyson came at him again, this time with a barrage that sent Long down again, and then with a short left hook that knocked him down again, making it clear to the referee that Long could not continue. Tyson blew a kiss at the camera as he took the W.
comes out with a strong right hand barrage again.
This is as bad as I've ever seen Donnie Long look, but
And
give
he
Tyson
was down,
credit.
and
That's
maybe
it. Wow.
The left hand puts him down. He collapses.
Long,
and
on
this
the
one
other
is
hand,
almost a-
never recovered. In a 2005 interview with ESPN, Long said this: "I remember going to the fight, and I remember waking up in the hospital. As far as the actual fight, I can't tell you a single thing. After I fought Mike Tyson, my whole career went down the drain. I went from thinking I was somebody great to being lost in the wilderness. I lost my faith in myself. I thought I was a loser and a failure again. I went back to the streets and the destruction." Kid Dynamite didn't just beat Long in the ring, he beat his ego out of him too. Number 2. Andrew Golota quits the fight. After the Holyfield bouts, Tyson faced a 15-month suspension for his actions, but he came back gunning, making quick work of his first few opponents and getting his name back into the title fight considerations. One of the opponents who stood in his way before the championship bout was Andrew Golota, a Polish giant who was known to fight dirty. The fight was set to become a media field day, with all the controversy surrounding both fighters, and according to Golota, it was dirty, as he said that Tyson was consistently headbutting him, and the ref wasn't giving Tyson a warning. He wanted to have the fight stopped after the first round. He didn't even go in after the second round, which wasn't believable to anyone standing in his corner. For quitting, he was pelted by the audience, which was to be expected. However, later, news revealed that he had broken a bone in his skull, which would have pierced his brain eventually. Tyson gave this man a beating that made him quit after the first round, almost gave him permanent brain damage, and made a crowd of thousands throw trash at him for quitting. But none of this is even mildly comparable to what he did to Mitch Green. Number 1. From green to red. This entire video is for Mitch Green, since he never really got knocked out. Tyson got the decision. Mitch Green was a street gang member who walked his way into professional boxing from New York gyms. When Tyson went the distance against Tillis, it gave a lot of fighters a lot of confidence that they'd be able to beat Iron Mike, and Mitch Green made sure that the world knew about that. He mocked and challenged Tyson using video messages.
I'm gonna kill you.
Something very uncommon for that time. Considering the success Green had in the ring, the two were very likely to meet in the ring, and Tyson did admit to hating that ugly mofo. So it was a boxing match made in heaven for the two. They met in May of 1986 for the very first time, where Tyson punched his mouth guard out multiple times, talked and taunted him, kissed his coach on the forehead in the break, and of course, came out with the win, winning 9 out of 10 of the rounds. He then went out to proclaim that he made Green last the 10 rounds on purpose, so he could beat him up bad. To make matters worse, the two faced off again in the streets of New York, this time in a much smaller fight, where Tyson punched Green so bad it made him go to the law. This man made a gangster go to the law for protection. And honestly, considering what poor Mitch looked like after the street fight, it makes sense. With antics, but also with straight up brute force and skill, is something we might never see again.